Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Braveheart, starring Mel Gibson, Sophie Marceau, Catherine McCormick, Patrick McGoohan, Brendan Gleeson, James Cosmo, David O'Hara, Angus McFadyen, and Peter Hanley, directed by Mel Gibson himself. Now, I heard about this movie as a kid, but I never seen it until I want to say my double digits. I like when I was maybe first starting off as a teenager. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I just remember how violent this movie was, and there were a lot of scenes that my mom didn't want me to see at that age for reasons I'll never get into. So, let's see if this movie holds up as the best picture of the year 1996. Let's get into it. We open with a young Scottish man, William Wallace from Scotland, in the year 1280 AD, and by ED I mean after death of Christ, while he wants to go someplace dangerous, as we get a narration by Hamish, played by Brendan Gleeson, and as William and his father come into the place where there's dead bodies hanging because of King Edward I, aka Longshanks, played by Patrick McGoohan, as some warriors want to fight with his father to defeat Longshanks, as William wants to come, but he's too young to fight a king. And when William's father gets back, we learn he's been killed and goes off somewhere in Scotland. As the cinematography is very good in this movie, and there's a reason it won 5 Oscars in the year 1996 because it looks that damn good, including the cinematography itself. William meets his friend Hamish and his sister Muran, or Muran? I don't know how you say that name, but anyways, as kids, as well as his uncle Argyle, played briefly by Brian Cox, comes by and stays with them over the years, and he sees images of a funeral while playing Scottish music, and the shots are fantastic throughout, while Argyle trains William to fight, and around the 1310s, King Edward I gets his son Prince Edward to marry Princess Isabel, played by Sophie Marceau, as King Edward I plans on invading Scotland, while Isabel hears of this invasion, and the actors are great in this movie. Even Patrick McGoohan, who plays off a villain very tremendously. In Edinburgh, William is all grown up and played by the movie's director, Mel Gibson, as he sees his burned up home when he was a kid, and he gets back to his current home and sees his crush, Muran, as an adult, played by Catherine McCormick, while Hamish challenges William to a rock throwing duel. And Hamish does end up winning it. And honestly, Mel Gibson's Shakespeare accent is sometimes hilarious until William throws a small rock on Hamish's head and makes him fall down, which again, hilarious. And the characters are good, but sometimes over the top until England's kings come in and takes a woman who's the from Scotland, and the newly husband is angry about it because unfortunately the Scottish can do nothing about it, and William wants to fight King Edward I. And the production design is pretty good, while the costume design is spectacular, as Scotland has never looked more beautiful in my opinion. William takes Marin for a ride in the rain and goes up a hill and have a nice date, and he drops her off as Mel Gibson and Catherine McCormick have such beautiful chemistry. And next day comes and William is asked to go to a secret meeting about being a warrior, as his father was a warrior, and he refuses as he wants to be a farmer. While Muran's father refuses William seeing Muran, and he sneaks her out again, and he confesses he loves her, and tries to propose her hand in marriage, as he makes her sneak out nonstop as he secretly gets married to her. And the score was very Scottish, which works for this movie as they tried to have a family of their own. Despite this is a 3-hour movie, I'm kind of glad it didn't get the Oscar for Best Editing because there were times the scenes did take a bit too long. Murren goes shopping and William tries to see her that night as her parents grow very suspicious of their marriage, while Murren gets sexually harassed by some of England's guards, as she briefly gets raped. Yes, I'm saying that because this is what happened. Until William comes in for her rescue, as he throws rocks at the English guards, and William lets her escape, with the horse while the English guards go after William, as a couple of them go after Murren while William succeeds on hiding from them. And he sees Murren has been captured while the English soldiers look around the Scottish people. And Murren gets her neck cut open after getting caught, until William decides to fight back against the English with Hamish, and William kills the guards later. And look, in good riddance, because that asshole deserved, the one that killed his wife deserves to die, as the battle sequence throughout the movie were spectacular, and the best has yet to come. William decides to become a warrior after his wife's death. And come on, how many times has Mel Gibson done movies where he takes revenge for killing for the killing of his wife, daughter, doggy, or anything? As started with the first Mad Max movie in 1979. But for Christ's sakes, like Mel Gibson, stop making movies like that, as it's getting more and more cliche the more I watch that kind of fucking movie. As William leads the Scottish to war against England, was sending a message to the English saying they will fight back and the English will take no more Scottish women from them, as they're now free. And the writing is great in this movie. King Edward I asks Prince Edward on how he's going to deal with William, and he says like a common thief, and gets smacked by his own king because he doesn't like the answer, and tells him to act like a king, while Isabel is scared for her prince, as the English looks for the William, as they burn down every Scottish village and gets their people trapped until they see William. And Robert the Bruce, played by Angus McFadden, who had a role later in his career in Saw 3, which we'll go back to that, meets with one of the English for William, while William continues to fight the English. And the sound was great when they hit the people with their weapons, and I really like the sound effects when they get into battle sequences while Isabel is being comforted by her maid, and I like the dialogue written for the characters throughout. The Irish joins the Scottish in fighting against the English, as they hunt for deer while one of them sneaks up on and tries to kill William, until Stephen, who was one of the Irish, saves his life, and the Scottish and Irish prepare for battle in Stirling against the English as they approach the Irish and the Scottish, led by William, wear some blue paint on them, and the makeup job in that scene was the best thing. There's so many movies and TV shows mimicking it everywhere I see it. And William makes a speech about how the English will never take their freedom, which is the best line in the movie, in my opinion. South Park quoted this line in one episode about the Thanksgiving turkeys, which was hilarious. The English tries to offer them money, and William wants to make an offer for an easy way out, and their men will live, and ask them to go back to England, but the English will not listen to him, and the Scottish and the Irish start fighting one of the most brutal fights in not only this whole movie, but in history of war films taking place after the death of Christ, as the English shoots their arrows and hits some of the Scottish and Irish, as most of them block it with their shields, and they sort of retreat as the English charge at them until the Scottish have more people on their side and stab the English horses with their sticks, and have the bloodiest battle throughout the movie, as this is the best action sequence in my opinion, as most of them are spectacular for damn sure, but this tops it. When the English get brutally murdered by decapitating heads, they begin to retreat as William and his Scottishmen and the Irish claim victory, and William gets knighted for Scotland and winning their match against the English, as William says the English will come back, as he will invade England like they did Scotland in the first place. While Robert has a word with William about how impossible it sounds, needing the nobles, while England are scared shitless of William. Meanwhile, they go to England to invade, as the Scottish try to break in and get brutally burned, and eventually break in, and the sound effects in that scene was very well done. Prince Edward cowers while King Edward I hears of the Scottish breaking in, while he did nothing about it because, like I said, he's a goddamn coward. As they receive word that he took over York, as they bring a decapitated head and throws one of the guys out and beats up on Prince Edward, who appears to be King Edward I's bitch. Meanwhile, time comes and William approaches Murren, whom I thought was dead, and I get the impression this is a dream sequence, As he wakes up, it was a dream sequence, and as that was kind of annoying in general. But I'm going to move on. But I'm going to give the movie at this. But I'm going with the movie at this point, as Isabel wants to bring William to King Edward I and negotiates about taking over England, while she wants to claim peace, which is something the king doesn't want. And I'd go with the what William wants, as he wants vengeance for not only his wife, but what King Edward I did to his father in the beginning of the movie, as he's enraged. But he predicts Isabel one day she'll be queen, and William won't be ruled. And that's good acting by Mel Gibson, in my opinion, before he went all crazy and shit. Isabel delivers a message to King Edward I, and she suggests to face him while cowers at his castle, and gives William a message about how his country will ash, and the Scottish will get a note saying the English are coming for Scotland, and they have no choice but to negotiate, as William refuses, and William wants Robert to fight along with them, as he agrees, as they go to Falkirk and prepare for another battle with the English. And I'm pumped for what's coming next. As of for now, I'm going with it. The English start the fight with the Scottish and the Irish, as they stop and fight the English and put them on fire and beating and killing their asses up, while others walk away from fighting with Scotland. And I'm reminded of the opening monologue of The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, which is not a very good sign, where the elves turn their backs on the dwarves, as King Edward I wants William either way, as he's been shot with an arrow, but he still stands and goes towards King Edward I to kill his ass off, until he gets knocked off his horse by a knight and almost kills Robert, as he was the traitor running away, while William pretends to lie there dead, as Robert lets him go, and the Englishmen go after William. And the scoring was so great in that scene that it was used in other movie trailers. After the defeat, the Scottish took it very hard, and Robert meets with someone whom I'm guessing is a priest, and he's upset about betraying William and walks away and dreams of William beating up his ass, until he does, and William jumps in the water, and we see Robert acting like a damn coward, while William runs to the top of the mountain. And King Edward I is upset William is still alive, and he fucking should be, but still, it's very good acting by these actors. William and Hamish put some Englishmen as well as some traitors in a building of some kind and burns it down, while William goes to Isabel and start falling for each other. And I thought, oh God, don't tell me she's going to die, because every woman around Mel Gibson dies, and every single damn time. In every movie, too, I'll say that much. And as for Sophie Marceau, she doesn't have chemistry with Mel Gibson like Catherine McCormick had it earlier. And she was bad in a James Bond movie, and she's kind of bad here. And the Scottish as I'm not a big fan of hers. And the Scottish almost give up on their fight, but William tries to help them continue, and they're at a point where they're going to give it up, and William approaches Robert, and the English come, and William get William and beat his ass up, and Robert goes to the priest. And what a great setup for the climax of the movie. William is judged by the Englishmen, and next day he will be hung like the judge will think, while Isabel visits William in the cage while chained up. And Isabel is sad about the death of William and begs him to take something for her, and she leaves while she wants King Edward I to release William from prison, but King Edward I is incapable of letting William go, and next day comes, as the English want to see William dead, and he prepares to die, and I'm on the edge of my seat at this point. William gets hung while King Edward I is sick, as the priest forces William to kiss his robe, but instead he stands up, and they force to hang him with no way out, and almost gets killed on a cross like Jesus did, like before he died. And he's gonna make a movie like that, and I'm gonna talk about it, I believe, next time. I forget it. But anyways, as people are asking William to say mercy, but instead he says freedom as his last word, and sees Muron before he gets decapitated. And Robert continues to fight with the English while narrating about what happened to William's body, after the decapitation of Hamish. Well, I mean, not of Hamish, but of William, while Hamish throws his sword to the ground in honor to honor William, and they start fighting as we don't see what the fight looked like, and the Scottish won their freedom, and this climax makes this one of Mel Gibson's best works, and we'll see how much I like the movie in a rating. I'll give this movie a 8.7 out of 10. There's a very good reason this movie won 5 Oscars in the year 1996, as the cinematography is very good, as this is a damn good looking movie, while the shots are fantastic throughout, as they are fantastic characters, as the villain was well played throughout, but Mel Gibson's Shakespeare accent was a little over the top. The production design is pretty good, but the costume design is spectacular, and Scotland has never looked more beautiful than in this movie, in my opinion. While Mel Gibson and Catherine McCormick have such beautiful chemistry, and the battle sequences are spectacular, that hell, the makeup is always getting mimicked in other movies and TV shows, that it works off great in this movie, and this may be one of Mel Gibson's best works, in my opinion. I do really like the score, but I'm glad this didn't get the best editing trophy, because there were times the scenes were taking a little bit too long. But the sound is well done and the writing is great, as this is maybe Mel Gibson's best directorial debut of a movie. And this is a solid recommendation, as this is a very well done movie. And that people should never forget, but one nitpick, maybe out of the few I have to give this movie, is how many times has Mel Gibson made movies of revenge, about revenge for a woman, a daughter, a dog, or anything in general, as the more he makes them, the more cliche has made it to begin. It gets, as he has made this to begin with in 1979 with the first Mad Max movie. But that's my only nitpick. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with the Passion of the Christ. And until then, they will never take our freedom.